Yo.
Hi, hello guys. Welcome to
Yo.
Level Up Geek Nights. I hope you missed us because
Hello.
and so my name is John. I'm the Level Up crew talking about dads.
K-pop ay, akala ko K-pop di mo na. Joke
Good or
lang.
bad, that's a whole different. I shall introduce our cast of course we have our resident cosplayer, Harry.
From
Hey,
the
Yan.
Warsaw.
Hi! Hi, everyone!
Anigaski.
Nani Gaski?
Let
Of
it
course,
die.
we have
Papa Gaski?
our Spencer slash content.
Sino? John? John? Yes. Yes, John.
No, that's not me.
Which incidentally, his name on Discord is How Baba with under it. Although that's not what he means. Hey
Alright.
Vince, the geeks is of course a person in black, no? Black camera. Because his camera is not
Yeah.
there.
It's not
Our
working.
um a resident dad,
Yes, the actual dad.
child of owner.
Actual die.
Our boss man John G.
Hello. Good evening.
Already have comments on the ano
K-pop Demon Hunters?
cat.
Kaya nga.
Eri so cute daw, sabi ni
Aw.
Aya.
Hi, Maya!
K-pop Demon
Thank you,
Hunters.
Maya.
Woo!
So, tonight we... No, not tonight. That's for another talk. But we are going to be talking about
Stay tuned.
dads to Father's Day month. The month of the Father's Day. A look at different dads and good or bad. How do they stack up to the...
Yeah.
So with that in mind, I am gonna...
Yep. To guide us in this often, of course, ship that is LUGN.
Parang yan.
Anyway, but yeah, that said, to start, because we're gonna be like, oh, what are the kinds of dads in fiction? We're gonna be pushing or discussing rather some examples of good dads, bad dads. But what makes a good or bad dad? And in fact, what makes a dad at all? Um, and that's not something we're gonna dive into. So round robin tayo. We're gonna do round robin on what are some fundamental things or truths that make a character a dad.
Well,
So
Oh.
yeah,
go Eri. Excited to answer.
go
Ahead.
Airy
Go,
first,
go.
ladies first. We only have one tonight, so you can go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like the most basic definition of a dad is a biological male parent. Like, I feel like if
Alam
you
ko
open
violent.
Miriam,
Violent.
whoa, that's not, I don't think that's what Merriam-Webster has on her the last time I read. Biologically male parent. I feel like that's the most, like,
It's
yeah,
a
like
it's a
textbook
working that your
definition.
basic working definition.
Yeah. So I feel
Okay.
like the interpretation of that can be put into many different contexts, but I feel like at its core, that is what the word dad or father means. And also, like, I feel like this is just interesting. I'm gonna put this up ahead. If you guys have your own ideas of who you think are the most ideal, like, dads, or
In
uh
fiction,
most ideal and non-ideal, or like the worst dads in fiction, put them in the comments, because maybe we can also include that in our discussion later tonight.
Correct. That is a good point.
dami ng tatay sa ano. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see
Masyado
what
na
people have
maraming
to say.
masyado na bad examples of real life. Wag na natin.
How about you guys? Do you guys have, like, additives to what you think
I think
defines a dad
traditionally
or a father?
aside from what father is either
Mhm.
makayod. Not to say that women, that's a good role. I think work you don't. So
As a
and
responsible person in general, diba?
for me that's
Okay. Sige, Vin, ikaw, ano sa'yo?
Leader na ano, the lead in the household. Kumbaga yung whatever it is na nanasan sila. He's the one who dictates the pace of the relationship or the family that they're at right now. So aside from the provider, aside from providing, he also yun nga, dictates the pace of how the interpersonal relationships happen in the family.
That's good. Okay, so I guess for me, I did take a while to think about, oh, ano ba talaga? Is a dad for me. So, being one myself, lol. Um, and I was thinking, okay, as a dad, there are certain, I guess, yeah, there are certain roles that you have to take in, and you fulfill these roles to your family, to your children, or yeah, what have you. Um, Vince already tackled it, 'di ba? Sabi niya, you have a leadership role. You set the pace for the family.
hmm,
I do agree. So kind of, I think a dad should expand on that. They have a role in the family, obviously, and part of that role is to set um they set certain directions and qualities for their family. They're supposed to basically love and protect their family, and in doing so, they impart certain truths. They're supposed to teach and model a good character. That's how I see it. So they're supposed to teach and model a good character. They're supposed to teach and help impart a way to navigate the world that we're in. So I think those are key and core elements of being a dad. In fact, di ba, nasa Bible din yung Proverbs na teach a child in how they're supposed to grow up, and they will not stray from it. So parenting, obviously, a dad is a parent, and one of the things we're gonna touch, I don't know if this is directly connected, pero oftentimes we celebrate mothers, and mothers are great and awesome people. Um, but we don't often see a lot of great dads or great dad models in modern
fiction.
movies or TV shows or
Oh,
and fiction. So
there.
I mean, it's basically modern media. There are, but compared to the movies or media, which pump fist moms, great moms, you know, in comparison, it's usually the dad who's a deadbeat or a problem or even the villain actually.
Or the
So
dork.
Pero you
We're
know what?
useless
There's an
for
explanation of that. Sabi nga daw nila,
yeah, let's go.
in the past, the dad is all in the past, especially in television, the father is always seen as the stalwart father figure, provider, is there for the family, protector. That's how they would always be portrayed. In some cases, a little bit emotionally distant, but they try to connect with the kids. But
Uh-huh.
in the 80s, there was a TV show called Married with Children.
Well,
And this is the first example now of a dad on television where the dad is not respected. No, the dad is just a provider, and then parang the mother is the one who takes care of the household. And no one respects the dad here. Parang they make fun of him, they lie to him, they parang scheme against him. And apparently this has become a standard in a lot of television shows since then. So parang prior to Married with Children, dads were seen as respectable characters. So parang as someone to aspire to in society, in at least in television. And then after Married with Children, they became the butt of the joke. And then parang it became more common for us to see deadbeat dads, no, yung mga dads that are not are just providers who are emotionally distant, who don't even make an effort, or completely they just are not in the picture, no, or they're abusive, ganon, na parang nag-shift yung father role to the women, to a lot of women, no, the women are both provider and caretaker, no. So that's actually the sad part of parang media nowadays. That's why sometimes, especially in television, we don't get to see good examples of dads or fathers masyado, or if there are, they're not
Common.
front characters. Hindi sila main roles, ganun.
Mm. Okay, so yeah, definitely we do know that in most fiction nowadays, it is uncommon to find a good dad. And to be fair, a lot of well-written characters are terrible dads, and we love to hate them. Which is why some of the characters tonight will fall into that category, definitely, right?
Mhm.
And yun lang, we will be looking for dads who are good dads, quote unquote. Diba? Good role models and the like. So, how do you guys want to start it? Kasi we have
Start na
some.
tayo with bad dads eh. Di bad dads na.
Sige, let's start with the bad and end with a good mood. No, not naman. Okay.
If we can just shout out London. Sabi ni Maya, most dads are able to fulfill the role of a provider in terms of finances, but usually lacking in emotional support to their wife and or children.
Yeah.
And I feel like that can kick off the, like what we usually find lacking in bad dads, no? That does tend to be that like
Well,
distance.
it depends on the bad dad that we
Mhm.
have in mind.
That's
So,
true.
let's pull it. Let's pop that out. Sino bang gusto mag-una?
Si Erin na.
Not
Kasi
bad
matagal
dad.
ko nang nirant.
Oh.
Huh?
Sure, go for it. So
Well,
who is the
to
bad
me, when,
dad?
when I think of bad dad in fiction, instantly I think of Show Tucker in my head, and I feel like
No Tucker.
uh, if you don't know him, then you're most likely familiar with the Chimera dog girl
Yeah.
hybrid that honestly has become super notorious. Like even I know a lot of people
Still
who
too
aren't
early.
even, huh?
Still too early.
A lot of people who aren't even in the geek sphere is somewhat like
Familiar.
exposed, yeah, somewhat familiar with that image, and the cause of that image is Show Tucker. So basically, what he's a scientist who's obsessed. What was he obsessed with again? Now my brain
No.
forgot.
Creating the perfect chimera.
Yeah, that created the perfect human. So like he was so
Chimera,
obsessed.
chimera, not human.
Sorry, the chimera, like the absolute of science at the time, right? Supposedly, like there is this obsession with creating
Yeah.
a chimera as the pinnacle of like scientific achievement or like um of knowledge and all that. So he was so obsessed with this particular goal that it developed into a distance between himself and his family, which connects to what Maya said actually, to the point where they would barely see him because he's in the like he's working. And he wasn't like a bad dad in that he was abusive, which is in many cases, I guess, like sorry, abusive and like violence or stuff like that. Like that's generally in a lot of ways that's how media depicts a bad
Mm.
dad. But he's a bad dad in that he was willing to sacrifice his daughter for this experiment, and that he chose something that was for himself. Like I guess
Yeah.
I would say it was pride over the people that he supposedly cares about, over his responsibility as a father. So
Mm.
and I feel like that active choice to hmm,
choose the career.
sacrifice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
Sacrifice your family
I
for
think
something else would, I think, as a blanket statement, make you a bad dad.
I think
Unless
yeah,
it's
go on.
I was gonna say, unless you're somehow, this is like a, what was it, not who was it, Isaac, no, it was Isaac situation. Unless it's an Isaac situation, I guess.
Isaac situation. Oh, you mean
Yeah,
like Abraham and Isaac?
yeah, Abram and Isaac.
Right,
I
right.
think I think in a sense, Show Tucker is the pinnacle then of ano eh. It's a pinnacle example of men choosing their career over their families. Na
Yeah,
parang
actually.
super, I mean, extreme yung kay Show Tucker. He's even worse than that. But a lot
Even
of,
sacrifice.
But
ano,
it's
diba?
the same. It's the same direction. Basically, the family is an attachment to him. They are not properly or highly valued.
Yes. So parang they are just, what's the word? Parang a means to an
Tools.
end. And parang a means to an end. The family is just there, and if I can use them to reach my goals, my careers, whatever, then I will use them. Otherwise, ano, parang
Parang,
disposable
pero
sila.
before we just dump on Show Tucker where she deserves, but you have to remember that he didn't start that way.
Mhm.
He didn't start that way. It was
Yeah,
desperation that led him to that.
Yeah.
And he wasn't just a bad father, he was also a bad husband.
Yeah.
Kasi remember who was the first victim in all this?
the
The
wife.
wife.
Right. Yeah.
Pero also you also have to remember then nga, he wanted so much to make, I mean, I think on his case, it's his idealism that got corrupted that made him act like this.
Yeah, there's something. Okay, it's like, of course, there's a character defect and something wrong in his head.
Mhm.
Nothing needs to be said about that. But in the story, there was also something that pushed or pressured him
Mhm.
into
Yeah, he was
taking that.
pressured. Eh.
So, but the thing is, the pressure, as we've come to know, pressure will reveal what is most important to you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Totoo.
And I feel like in our lives, it can also, that kind of corruption happens in small pieces. Eh? Like sometimes it's like, perhaps the experimentation wasn't altogether ganun na at the start. It could have been just small things, and that tends to be how corruption really happens in real life. Like
Yes,
you're like,
it's
yeah, like I will sacrifice them in a small way. Like you can handle the small inconvenience, and until like that compromise has become all consuming.
yep, I agree. I think ano parang corruption, and it's even ano eh, it's like sin. Temptation doesn't happen like one big temptation right away you give in. It's
Mm.
usually parang one after the other. If we look at an example of a dad in the Bible, si David, lol. I'm not gonna go
Yeah,
into he's not fictional, no? So, but you know when you look at David,
Drop
parang
out.
ano 'di ba? Parang it
he
started
was a,
with
he had a lot
one
of
of his
good qualities,
sins.
but he was not a good dad.
He wasn't a good dad, but one of the sins that he committed was adultery, and adultery didn't happen right away. You know, he was lazy, tapos parang suddenly nakita niya yung ano, yung babaeng na nagbe-bathe, so nagkaroon ng lust, nagkaroon ng covetousness, that eventually led to adultery, and then yung adultery even led to murder because he sent his own friend and ano parang loyal servant to death. So if you look at that, it was a string of sins that parang compounded one after the other.
Mm.
So corruption is the same way, temptation is the same way. It's not like one time big time. So it's really a question of parang being able to discern right away, is it worth it? Yung small, even those small sacrifices, is it really worth it in the long run, in the bigger
So the lesson here is
Yeah.
not to be idealistic at all because idealism corrupts.
Wow. Wow.
Well, generally
Wow.
speaking,
How
That's a
mega.
different conversation. I will fight you for, but that's not make that consume this
that
this
is something
discussion.
we can tackle in a separate time.
All right.
We can get
So,
back to that.
I wanna ano parang I was actually doing research, and there's one dad that I want to bring up. Medyo deep cut siya ng onte.
Okay.
It's Uncle Phil from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Ugh.
That is a
Pero
deep
wait, are we moving to the good dad or are we going to kasi or
Bad,
the
akala
bad
ko
dad?
bad. Well, because it's a bad dad and a good dad, but I'm bringing up Uncle Phil because of a bad dad also in that show. There
Yeah, yung dad
is
mismo niya, no?
yung dad ni Will Smith.
Ni Will Smith.
So if you've seen that clip, and that clip makes me cry every time I see it kasi sobrang emotional, but
I'm
it's
not,
sobrang, again, deep cut.
oh,
No, parang his dad abandoned him long time ago, comes back into his life, tells him that I'm gonna bring him with me, etc., etc., and then in the last moments of the show, abandons him again, and parang
yeah.
finally Will parang breaks down and gets upset with his dad, and parang sobrang yung emotion na parang after all that, he was just stringing me along, and then parang iwan siya ulit. How can he, and ang is how come he does not love me? No,
Mm.
yun yung niyang question niya. And so here comes Uncle Phil that's just there, just brings him in and hugs him, and parang that's a dad. He's a good dad to his children, and he's also becoming a good dad to parang surrogate dad for Will Smith's character. And you can see na parang sobrang contrast because the dad, Will Smith's dad, is parang just always after the money, after the hustle, and then
Mm.
parang yung si Uncle Phil is a family man. He's got a good career. He's if I remember correctly in the show, he was a lawyer. He was an attorney, but he did not let his parang career and privilege take over when it comes to taking care of his children.
Mm.
So I would say both a bad dad and a good dad. Yung bad dad ni yung kay Will, yung si Uncle Phil is the good dad.
Combo mo. Two
Um,
different characters.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
also
how
have
are
not
you?
watched Fresh Prince. I was like, I see.
That is a bit of a deep cut because it's been a while since we've tackled that. In fact, Will Smith, a lot of the characters he plays can be a good example for good and bad dads as well. But
Yeah,
I think we
that's true.
can
We can
try
do
to
a
do
good
it.
and bad dad's Will Smith version. That does
Yeah, we
exist.
could. But I'm not gonna go into that because I haven't prepared my Will Smith
Mm. Oh my gosh,
research.
Pursuit of Happiness was good. Anyway, sorry.
Beyond Earth, Pursuit of Happiness, 7 pounds, ano pa?
Yep.
Dami.
Dami talaga.
I'm Legend.
Good dad. Kahit wala na yung family niya.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that being said, Vince, ikaw, any examples of bad dads?
Dami? Ano ba pipiliin natin?
Pick one.
Pick
Pick
one.
one. That you
Goku.
feel like represents.
Goku.
Oh,
My
oh,
gosh,
I like
Goku.
that.
I like
I
that.
like that because I mean it's a perspective of a dad who might not be who might be well liked actually as a character, but is a bad dad.
Yeah.
Goku
Exactly. So,
best example ko.
all right. So
Why?
can you
Can you elaborate?
explain or can you justify that answer to us?
The only time he actually spent time with his son was when they were fighting. Training to fight. And that's pretty much it.
Which is
Si
actually the
Chichi
only
yung
thing.
si
That's the only thing
Chichi
Goku
yung
lives for. No?
yeah, si
Only
Chichi
parent.
yung naging mom, naging and I have to na Piccolo has been the better dad. And he's not even human. He's not even Saiyan. Sino ba yung nagbantay? Sino ba yung nag-aruga sa anak ni Goku? Piccolo. Tapos when he got back, when he was survived,
Mm.
sino yung did he actually spend time with his son? No. He went on to fight someone else.
Yeah. So see, Goku is another. He's very well loved, but Goku is a well loved character. However, he is also a example of a dad who sacrificed everything for his career slash fighting.
His obsession.
That's true.
His
Yeah.
obsession. Yeah. So it's not obvious, like he's not show talker. Now he sacrificed his children literally to create a chimera. But
Na, hindi
funny
children
enough,
yun.
Goku also to a certain extent, sacrificed quality um in his relationships with his children. He was a ano ba yan? Negligent dad who
Mhm.
would leave at the first. So I'm supporting Vince here because I agree that Goku's a terrible dad. He would leave his kids if it was
Just to
anything
just to
outside
train.
of fighting. Anything outside of fighting, he had nothing there because he loved fighting. That was the only thing he loved and loved doing. He loved being a fighter. So parang kung hindi sila fighter, edi wala talaga,
Ano
right?
yun yung parang parang there was that, I don't know if that's true or not, or parang they just made it a parody dubbing na parang he doesn't even know how he had kids.
It's a joke. It was never overtly mentioned on how Chi-Chi and Goku had kids.
Yes.
So parang it just even though it's a parody, it really talks about the kind of parang character
Person.
Goku, love character, parang he good guy, yet here he is
Fighter.
parang leaving his children behind, not spending enough time with them. It's a surprise that Gohan turned out alam mo yun.
Hindi kasi yun nga eh. That's the thing.
Maayos.
Because
Naging
Gohan had a father figure. It was
Oh
Gohan
well,
not
had a
that's true.
father figure.
That's
Had
true.
father figures. Kasi aside from Piccolo, he has yung tatay ni Chi-Chi. He was
so
there.
her dad, his
Mhm.
grandfather stepped in.
Yep.
It's so funny because like Vegeta, who initially is a
Mas
villain,
ironically,
villain is
Vegeta
actually a good dad.
is a good dad compared to Goku kung titingnan mo.
Diba?
Yeah. Vegeta was actually a good dad.
He was an okay dad. He wasn't a good dad. If we're going to go for good dads in Dragon Ball, there's one.
Okay.
Pero mamaya na yan. I'm going...
Sige.
Pero diba, it's just mind-boggling it can be like that. So meron dito tayong sa FB some examples of from Maya of good and bad dads.
Okay. What do you got for us?
So one is good dad Terry Jeffords from Brooklyn
Hmm.
Nine-Nine.
Ah,
So if you are familiar,
Terry,
he's the black sergeant in Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
Let's say
and
that.
played by Terry Crews.
played by Terry Crews. And I would agree that he is really a good dad. Sabi dito, I read in an FB post how Terry having twin girls but never comments about how he wanted boys or how hard it is to be the only male in the family, but was just doing the father to he is to be to his daughters and a supportive husband to his wife. Yun.
Mhm.
So agree. I would agree with that
But he
statement.
has a favorite though. That's a
Ah,
Ano?
favorite though.
oh, a bad
No, no,
dad.
no.
Here's a
It was,
bad
it
dad.
was a running joke. It's a running joke. It's a running joke. No, he has a favorite. It's Kagi because she's the not
Kagi
evil
Elise.
twin. She's not the evil twin. There's always an evil twin kasi daw.
So here's a bad dad example from Maya then is si hero number 2 from
Yep.
My Hero Academia. So
Oh yeah. My
Si
gosh.
what's his name
Si
again?
Endeavor.
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 I
But
like how my brain said Enderon, and I'm like, no, that's a school. Endeavor.
I think
Close enough.
because, but you know what? One thing that I really liked about Endeavor's character was everybody hated him at the beginning, 'di ba? Kasi we saw how
Shoto!
pero 'di ba, eventually you see that there's character development and growth, and
Yeah, he's
he
one
is
of the
actually striving to become a good dad. No? In fact, nagkaroon na siya ng maayos na relationship sa mga children niya by the latter part of the series. So he starts off as a bad dad, meaning to say, naman irredeemable lahat ng bad dads. No, 'di ba?
yeah. Although it is rare.
Yes.
It is rare, but it does happen.
And even if you're a hero, this is an example again. You can be Goku, you can be Endeavor, you may be a hero, you may be loved by all, but you can still be a bad dad.
You have to, you notice mo lahat ng in fiction at least, lahat ng mga bad dads are are driven by their compulsion to they never went past themselves when na ganun. Lahat ng example si I'm surprised well, mamaya na. So tingnan natin yung iba. I could give another example na yung obsession nila is the one that made them focus on themselves and train and whatever. Pero at the end of the day, they're just bad people. Oh,
How about John? John, who is
yeah,
your
yun nga, yung
idea?
talaga si Jan.
Actually, yun yung point eh. I was so focused on like who's a good dad, I forgot to choose a bad dad. Because I mean,
Dami.
there are so many options, diba?
Want me to give you a soft throw?
Sige, what? What do you got?
Si Fire Lord.
Our Lord
I like
Ozai.
it. Oh my gosh, I was gonna bring that up after John spoke. I was like, I don't wanna.
Ozai. Yeah,
Yeah,
Ozai
I
is
was like,
terrible.
literally this whole time I've been holding it in because I wanted to. I noticed there's a particular theme to dads, so I
Yeah.
wanted to see where John was gonna go, and then I was gonna bring it to Ozai.
That's
You
okay.
can take Ozai actually, yeah.
Ozai is good. He's a
Yeah.
good example of a terrible dad.
He's not only a bad person, but also a bad dad.
That's true. But can you?
Oh.
Yeah.
There's
In this case, it's a combination of because like we were contrasting kanina. Can you be a good person / character but be a terrible dad? Yes.
Yes.
So you have the
Yes.
Gokus, you have etc. But you can't be a
terrible person
good.
and with the
You
good
can't be a good dad
and a terrible
and
person.
be a terrible person.
I feel like that exists,
I
and
mean,
my brain is trying to remember.
No, wait.
There are certain characters that are bad people but are good dads.
I will have to
Yeah.
qualify that because
About
if you are a bad person, even if you're a good dad, you're also teaching bad things pa rin to your children.
yeah, we're not
And therefore, you're still a bad dad. For me,
ganito,
ganun yun.
yeah, like we don't talk about like, oh, this dad emotionally supports. Like, okay, emotionally supports is one thing, and it's of course good. We've noted that most dads are providers.
Mhm.
So medyo okay na tayo doon. Like we're kind of we're kind of good with that. But what kind of role modeling are they demonstrating for their kids, and what kind of um, support emotionally and identity wise are they providing for their kids? That is for me like a critical component.
Yeah, ganda ka na example ni Maya nuanced. Pero anyway.
Yeah.
So
Because I was gonna say there are people who are bad people, but I don't know. Because the thing is, bad person is also something that's hard to quantify. Because I would say that, well, like again, like in our acceptance that we are all sinners, right? So everyone sins. I would say in my head, what I was thinking of was, for example, there are a lot of people who are adulterers who are in the forefront teaching their kids good values and being good citizens, and then ayun pala, they're adulterers. So like
Mm.
you would say that technically they're bad people, especially. But then the thing is, what defines a bad person? Because you can be bad now and then
I think
um, repent and change. So
It's a good
I,
point.
I feel like you can't keep a person just two-sided and just I mean it's something that fiction
Well,
paints a lot of ways, but also
yeah.
in the renaissance of people like redeeming villains, right? Like there have been movies that redeem villains, so technically there is a pathway to redemption for them. Just usually for the narrative to succeed,
wait,
it becomes very like black and white.
another good example of na gusto ko rin since we already talk about Ozai, si Ang. Is he a bad dad?
Okay. I'm gonna for Ang. I honestly didn't. I've only watched the tunes. I was not able to really look into the. I know he gets explored much more in the comics,
Yeah, pero in the si
but
Korra.
si sa Korra
based
kasi there were
based on what I saw in Korra,
yeah.
his kids had realistic relationships with him
Mhm.
because some of them loved him, aka si Tenzen, and
Pero
the
kasi
others had.
Tenzin kasi is the favorite one
Again,
dahil siya
I know
yung
that's why I was gonna point
Very
out
airbender.
he was the favorite kasi. However, the others they still respected their dad somehow, even if they didn't like
the treatment.
how
honestly,
he raised them.
I think the case of Ang is a little bit more nuanced I wouldn't say that he was a great dad, no.
He wasn't a
Um,
terrible dad.
but he wasn't a terrible dad either. So
So
parang
in Ang's case, it's like he's a dad who tried to be a dad, but he lacked a certain degree of structure and maturity with which to carry out his being a dadness, so to
and
speak.
he could basically he could have been better, but I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that he was a bad dad.
No, si Ang was a realistic-ish dad.
And I think that's ano eh. Also remember that Ang did not have really an example of what a good dad looked like,
He had no examples. That's true.
Mhm.
'di ba? So parang um he is learning all of that from experience and how to teach him. Maybe in his mind he thought that this was the best way to be a dad to his kids. And no one was there to tell him, dude, mali yan, or parang, dude,
You're
this is what
paying
you
too
should
much
do.
attention to this kid
Yan,
or that.
ganyan, etc. etc. But I don't think he was a terrible dad. He could have done better. Yes, definitely. Maybe if he had mentorship, he could have been a great dad. But I think he did the best that he could with what he had.
Mm.
If he wasn't the
So,
last airbender, things would have changed. Kasi
true.
yung
If
I
he
pressure
mean,
niya
but
wasn't,
was...
then you're changing
yeah,
his identity though, so like
yeah, kasama
No,
niya yung
if
pagiging last
anything,
airbender
if we're
kasi.
because if we're talking about like Avatar, right? Like I feel like we just brushed over Ozai and just like okay, he's a bad dad. But I feel like
Yeah.
because we were why I wanted to bring him up earlier was I felt like a lot of the examples of the dads that we had in a
Oh
way they
yeah,
were bad dads because they put their career over their family. So either
that's true.
family was sacrificed or family was neglected. But I feel like in Ozai's case, it was more like he was actively leading his children towards becoming bad people. So
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like
agree.
we have
Which
evolving
is
categories in a way of
uh
like bad fathers because
so
a
he
lot
was
of
being
like
a dad. He
yeah
was doing it in a bad way because
exactly
Was
yun nga, as I
actively
mentioned
turning
earlier,
them evil.
part
That's it.
kasi part of the rules ng dad is you impart identity, your
Moral
sense of
values.
your sense of values, etc.
mm-hmm.
And he was being very effective. He was very gifted. He was very effective, but he was doing it in totally the wrong way. Like he was
Exactly.
in the wrong direction.
And not to
And we say
mention
wrong.
To
We
the
say
point
wrong
even where he
because
was
uh,
pitting his own children against each
against each
other,
other.
basically, right? Yeah.
Was very manipulative as a dad.
Mhm.
the
So it was
reason we
a
say wrong is because
yeah,
the direction he was pointing them is the one which hurts a lot of people.
exactly,
Saka ano rin,
exactly.
this is, I mean, Oza is a good example of what a good dad should have been if he wasn't teaching his children to do bad things. Kasi
Yeah.
you have to remember, when I mentioned kasi earlier kanina, diba, yung what is a father, he's the one who set the tones of he was the one who
Exactly.
set the tone of the family, and he did,
It is. It's like this.
and
In terms of gifting, so Ozai, okay, Ozai had a lot of gift. He was gifted in being a leader, and even a father. He was a gifted father. The problem is he used his gifting in the totally wrong way.
mm,
Diba?
Mhm.
That's how I say it, which is common among other people as well.
Mhm.
But that's touching a different topic. But the thing is, he was very effective. He was a very effective father. The problem was he was a very effective father towards totally terrible thing.
Yeah.
That's how I
And if
put it.
yeah, you guys brought up Ang as like kind of like a counterpart of another like bad dad, quote unquote. I mean, and we ended up in like neutral, kind of realistic, like not faultless, not exactly bad territory for him. But if I had
For
to put
Anne.
someone who I feel like eventually became a good dad, I would have said it was Uncle Iroh.
Oh
That's
gosh,
my
Ah,
oh yeah,
avatar
Uncle
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
Iroh.
yeah.
for a good dad. Yeah,
well, Iroh,
like
I think,
he was a bad person, but I
He
felt
was a
like
bad dad
yeah,
nung
yeah,
when he was
exactly.
ano.
That's why I said he became one. Like
Mhm.
as a counterbalance
mm,
to what Ozai did to Zuko, Iroh then became like the father figure that would then help him redirect himself.
He
I think
wouldn't want to make the same mistake, and
but
that's what he
I,
did. You know.
I do have a question. I do have like contesting Uncle Iroh being a bad dad previously because we do know that he loved his son.
mm-hmm.
Diba? We know he loved
Mm-hmm.
his son. And given the context of the Fire Nation at the time, they were, royal family, you have to live in the military service. it also seemed that his son respected his dad. So
Mhm.
yung relationship ni Iroh and his son, we couldn't really explore
True.
except for the fact that
If you read
his
the
son
comic,
had to serve on the front line and died, and Iroh couldn't do anything about it.
But I would say
So
though the way that Iroh was portrayed prior to his that he was an Ozai basically. He had the same character as
Exactly.
Ozai. So he parang
I
family
would argue.
honor about ano it would be about family honor making sure that the Fire Nation came up on top no matter what parang ganon yun yung
I
dating
would like to
ni
oh, I
contest
niya.
that, pero
And
sige.
then the death of ano parang the death of his son was the trigger for him to see na parang wait, I don't think I've been doing this right. I haven't been seeing this correctly. And that's why he stepped down, 'di ba? That's why ano
as a
parang
general.
I think I would contest that kasi I think hindi siya totally Ozai.
I'm
He
not
had,
saying he's totally Ozai because he
yeah,
wouldn't
yeah,
have
yeah. Ang ano ko lang
ano.
kasi is, you have to remember, nung time na si, ano rin, yung when actively serving, it was that time that, Iroh encountered the dragons, the fire dragons. And
Ah,
'di ba? And yung tradition kasi is they have to kill the dragons or whatever. But si Ozai, he didn't. Si Ozai, si ano, Iroh
Iroh.
didn't. So parang I think he was more I think he is more honor whatever thing. But as values and all that, I don't think he was teaching his son wrong values. It's more of
yeah, they're very duty. I think they're
duty
more
bound sila eh.
very
Kasi they're
duty.
he's the crown
Yeah.
prince.
Yeah,
Oh, ito na naman tayo sa crown prince. But anyway.
Dolls.
crown princess all over again.
Okay, I
But
have
yeah, it's
another
they're very duty bound.
I have
That's for
another
sure.
bad dad example. Medyo not too deep. Recent ano naman to. It's also on TV. If you've seen the TV show Shameless, si Frank Gallagher.
Uh,
I've not.
So
I
I
know.
haven't seen
Okay.
the show yet.
I've been seeing clips kasi of it online and been reading up. Parang basically the idea, the story of Shameless is basically about this dad who has so many children. Ang dami niyang children. Is ano
Oh,
tapos ano parang um the eldest daughter ended up being the mother figure and father figure for the entire clan because their father is a drunkard, he's an alcoholic, he is a drug addict, etc. So all of the ano and throughout the show, and I'm like, sabi ko, he can't be that bad, you know? Parang, my gosh, but until the end, he was that bad. When you read throughout, ano, he would literally, like, one of his youngest daughters, parang, she had a warehouse of mga, like, branded clothes and items that she was planning to sell. And then, ano, parang, she came by to pick up some items sa storage na and then saw that everything was gone because apparently the dad decided just on a whim to sell everything without telling her and parang alam mo yun parang he just because he wants to because he needs money parang wala siyang pakialam sa mga anak niya about
Sounds familiar.
that's bad parenting.
and sobrang parang when I was like God, that is really awful. Talagang, yung parang I've never seen, and I've never had that feeling na parang, my God, this dad is so awful. Talagang he is so awful. So parang, I'm, parang very selfish in the way that he's only out for himself. No?
Sounds familiar.
And he would backstab his own children for his own benefit. Yes, Vince.
Sorry.
So parang it's
Triggered si ako eh.
Yeah, we know.
so, but the reason I'm bringing up is that there are some dads they're really bad. I mean, you know, parang could he have redeemed himself? Possible, no? But throughout the entire series, 11 seasons, you know, it's even a surprise that his children grew up being
Decent.
half decent, they're still a little bit. Some of them are still like schemers and whatnot. But you know, the fact that like one of them became a police officer even though medyo slightly ano siya tagilid or like oh, oh, it, the idea is that his dad was so just bad. He was out for himself. He didn't care that he had kids. Parang ano, he basically let the eldest child take care of the rest of the family, and he never appreciated them. And the one instance that he was good to to his daughter was when he broke up when he broke up her wedding because the fiance was like parang taking drugs or something and he found out. And that was the only instance that he was a good dad that was seen in the entire show. Anyway,
Nice.
yeah.
Well, okay. So, like, okay. So how are we putting this together?
Good dads muna. Hindi pa tayo tapos sa good dads. Puro bad dads tayo.
Yeah, I mean, just to wrap up the bad dads part.
So there are a few examples here by Maya. Si Silco daw towards Jinx. Ang,
Evander.
Yeah,
Silco and Lander, yeah.
so si Silco, technically Silco was a bad dad, I would say, because he was leading Jinx towards a path that even though kahit sabihin na natin genuinely merong affection for Jinx, it was a path that you're leading them towards a bad path eh. Bad dad daw, another bad dad, Denethor daw.
I wanted to tackle Denethor, but the thing is, it's mixing it a lot with yung book and movie Denethor are kind of mixing in my head. So it's a
It's a mixed bag.
I felt like there are worse. Although he was also a bad dad, so
I think he was a bad dad in both, but he was
In the
worse
movie.
in the movie.
he was much worse in the movie.
In the book, dude. He was much worse in the book.
No, he was much worse in the movie.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah.
That's much worse in the
Anyway.
Kasi sa book kasi, at the very least, in the books, when his son passed away or quote-unquote got injured, dun parang siya natauhan siya. So parang at
Doon
least
siya
there's some
nahimasmasan
sort of, yeah, there was some sort of awakening there. So you.
I was gonna say, well, I don't know how much it counts. Like, sorry, I remember the whole like I've been thinking about bad person, good dad thing, and I was like, Deadpool.
Oh,
I don't know if that counts though. I mean, if you're killing people, technically you're a bad person, right? But then he does everything he can. He wants his child to be like a good person, and I feel like because I feel like that is kind of a trope. There are a lot of like bad people in media that
Mhm.
like try to make their children good people.
You know what? What is I think if we're gonna think about the bad,
like The Godfather. I don't know.
I think
Yeah.
if we're gonna think about that, if we're along that lines, bad person, good parent, and we can in the anime body daddies.
I haven't watched it. I haven't
Wait,
watched
so
it.
no, wait. We're getting sidetracked. So how are we going to end this part of the discussion?
No,
yeah.
I feel like it's better that we.
Just
I was
move.
thinking of that, right? Because technically you can. There is like I was just saying that there's a tendency of some. There is kind of like a space where you have like kind of people who have questionable like livelihoods or whatever, right? Who can be good fathers, but at the same time, of course, we have people who are just like good people, good dads. I feel like it's definitely more common. So on that end, we can talk about that. Like, who do you think is a good father, like, and a good
Right.
person as a whole, right? And how are they distinguished from these examples that we have of people who are not that great as parents or fathers,
Yeah.
rather?
Okay, so who will go first here?
I
Well, I
will
mean, I started off the last segment, so I can
go start it off.
Yeah, I was like, I started the last one, might as well. Because
Yes, it's okay. Start it off. Start it
I
off.
feel like Vince followed the same theme because he started with Dragon Ball. And he I think he has another Dragon Ball loaded in, and I basically stuck with FMA also. So my like when I think of good dad in my head, I think of Mace Hughes. I love Mace Hughes.
You think of
Someone who was so, yeah, especially because I felt like at the time that I encountered him, in Full Metal Alchemist, it wasn't that common to me to have a character who is so obsessed with their family, kind of like in almost all the
oh,
scenes he finds a way to mention his wife or
um,
his daughter.
yeah,
And I just found that so endearing in a space where I felt like a lot of early anime had like neglectful fathers. To just have a father figure, especially be someone who is so devoted to their family in a way that was so endearing, was like something that I loved. And I felt like even if that he was a side character, right? And in a lot of ways, his family wasn't even in the picture. You could
yeah,
see him how he was a good father because in the way that he treated the leads of the show, he was still like a mentor figure of sorts.
Yeah, he
Like
was. He was.
yeah, like
older
putting the
brother.
like yeah, older like a older brother figure, uncle figure, and in almost every decision he makes throughout the show, you can see that he puts other people before himself,
Yeah,
and especially because he finds a way to like mention his family. Like you never hear him talk about his own accolades. He just talks about how great his own family is.
Malaysia.
He need- like his
yeah,
achievement is him being a good dad, and that's the energy he emanates, and you see
yeah,
that that is true in the way that he acts, right? Like you see how
right,
he's a
right.
good dad because him being a father figure extends beyond the bounds of his family, and it just echoes in everything else that he does and all the other decisions that he makes.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Um,
parang across all fans talaga is it's really considered the best dad. Kahit anong tingin mo sa forum or whatever, no one's gonna contest that, 'di ba?
I'm tearing up right now remembering.
Parang
yeah,
it's interesting kasi talagang kita mo talaga throughout. All the fans are all in agreement. No one is going to... And if you say... Merong isa dito sa Reddit thread, best dads, Mace Hughes, duh.
oh my.
Oops.
Yeah, Mayfew's hands down is one of the best dad characters.
Napapaiyak na nga ako. Emotional.
So the question is, who else is there?
I will throw in Arthur Weasley
Okay, defend him
Arthur's
to me.
adorable.
as a good dad.
Sige,
So parang
bakit?
I think parang the Harry Potter series does have a lack of good dads per se. Honestly,
Mm,
either they and when I say good dads, I'm talking about good people with good characters, and they're also good dads.
mm,
And the Harry Potter series does kind of lack good father figures if you think about it. There aren't a lot
yeah,
to mention or are seen. There are a lot of good male characters, but yung to say na good dad din talaga sila is a different story altogether.
mm,
I mean, you have ano you have like characters like si Lucius Malfoy. You have what do you call that? Dami talagang bad dad. I mean,
well,
the way that
Lucius
but
would.
with Arthur Weasley kasi you see him as someone
Mm,
who is fully and wholly devoted to his family. No, parang he is interested in the lives of his children. No, he works at the ministry to better the lives
other people.
other people, no, and his family. He doesn't parang overwork, he doesn't focus on career, no, parang he is okay na parang in a sense being quote unquote poor, no, parang okay lang sa
Mm,
kanya as long as his family is provided for, they're happy, etc. No, he he has all of those examples, and by extension he does that with Harry. No, he does that even with Hermione. Nakita mo talaga na he really cares about the his children and the people in his children's lives as well, 'di ba? So I would say no, parang in a world that is lacking of good people and good parents, no,
yep.
Arthur Weasley stands out.
You're not wrong.
I agree. Wala kang comment, Vince?
Walang comments.
Well, it's a good character.
No, I would have. I would have. If this was a talk about moms, of course, I would have thrown in Molly Weasley as well.
I love Molly.
She is a good character.
Oo na, pwede na ako magbigay ng example ko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you? What's you? Who's
Tyrion.
your
Tyrion
Really?
is a good example of a father in Dragon Ball.
I wouldn't have thought.
Not only is he a good father, he's a good husband too. Kasi parang, there's this one scene kasi in Super where si Krillin was, kasi he was now working as a policeman, I think. Nung after nung everything that after Frieza, sorry, after But anyway, so what happened next is that he was preparing to fight for yung battle of yung battle ng mga different worlds. So Goku was rounding up fighters in the world. So Krillin as one of the to be fair, si Krillin is the strongest human in the Z fighters.
Pure human.
He's not Saiyan. He doesn't have but he's able to at least stand up to Goku in a sense. Alam ko naglabang pa nga sila for a while eh. But I'm calling it na he's a good dad kasi he actually stopped being a fighter, took a job just so he can provide for his family. That's one. Next is, di ba I mentioned nga na being a father is the one who sets the pace of the family. Kung tutuusin, si Android 18 is the stronger fighter than Krillin. And yet, si Android 18 was able to, Krillin was able to make Android 18 feel like he's the strongest person in the world. Na parang,
she respects him so much.
She respects him so much na, actually ang usapan nga is, ang usapan nga nila nun is, you know that I'm the stronger fighter, right? Yeah, but you, I think right now, I need to protect you and the kid. So, alam mo yung to be able to make someone who's stronger than you call you cool as you leave for battle, it just shows that Kirin is able to, alam mo yun, to do something about it. And the fact na the mere fact na Android 18 was able to, alam mo yun, call him cool na kahit alam naman niyang kaya niyang tirisin si Kirin is something else in front of the child. And iba yung usapan kasi, di ba, alam ko na madalas when we're going through parenting seminars, parenting everything. Di ba, who's this had yung dad na laging that goes out? Yung because of speaking engagements, so naiiwan siya pati mom niya sa bahay. And because the mom respects the dad so much na he keeps on telling him, hindi ko matandaan sino mag-ama to eh. Yung geek na speaker.
Wait. Sean? Si Sean ba yun?
Yeah. Sean McDowell, there we go.
Sean McDowell, there.
And ang nangyari is he was, di ba, the one reason why Sean said that he doesn't feel like his dad is negligent and that he doesn't feel like that his dad is also ano yung term? His dad was a bad person, but because the mom keeps on telling him that this is what his dad is doing. He keeps on hyping, she keeps on hyping his father up for him. So walang, kahit na his dad wasn't always there, to be able to have that kind of connection with him
Uh,
and to have someone hype you up like that so much, you must be doing something right, at least. Diba? And that's where I'm coming in. Na ganun yung sitwasyon ni Karen ngayon with Marin and yung anak niya. And si Andre dating. So yun.
Nice. I really agree with you there. I think in a world where there is also few examples of good dads.
in reality, yeah.
Diba? It really does stack up, I guess. That's what the word. I think I would say nga na na ang hirap maghanap ng good dad sa Dragon Ball na world. There are some that have become good father figures, but they're not really parang wala silang children of their own. And a lot of those who have children of their own, yes.
Kasi ang sagot doon, get, don't, don't be
Yeah.
with Saiyan. Yun lang.
How about
Diba?
you, John? Who is your fictional dad? Good fictional dad.
Well, there are a lot of options.
Dead Start, joke lang.
But
No.
ultimately, I decided to go with um, si ano, an adopted dad. So it's not a dad who had a kid.
It's
See,
someone who adopted someone who became a
yes,
father figure.
and he became a father figure to this.
I would argue that if he adopted it, he's not just a father figure, dad na talaga
He's
siya.
a father, yeah.
Yeah.
Legal,
Okay,
legal father.
so you'll understand why I say why there's like a slight ano. It's because the figure I have is si Din Djarin.
Oh, Danger.
Yeah.
So
I
from
don't know who this
Mandalorian.
is. Who?
Mandalorian.
The
I never
Mandalorian.
Mandalorian.
watched The Mandalorian. Okay, okay.
You should.
So unfortunately,
I
I will
don't.
try.
I don't have Disney Plus. Okay, okay. Anyway.
No, it's okay. That's why we share.
That's
That's
why
why we
I have
share.
it.
Yes. So just as a ano for Mando, um, well, you do know that basically early on, Grogu shows up, and then Din Djarin or the Mandalorian basically has him as a job, grows fond of him, and of course, a relationship forms. So by the end of the series, uh, si Din Djarin basically imparts a lot of his thoughts and culture to him. Um, Morals, values, all of that.
So say we all.
So
Joke lang. Di Star Wars yun.
yeah. Paano ba? Well, anyway. So the point is, si Din Djarin, he shows a lot. He shows a lot of that. Like literally, there's so many moments he is where he is ano literally teaching si Grogu like this, don't do this, that's bad because ganito. You have to do it this way because ganun. So parang he really teaches him. And I think that's just it. So parang and he models what he's teaching. Like he says, well, okay, it's a funny thing, but like when you say, "Oh, don't kill this thing because ganito," we have to act this way because ganon. So he's teaching, he's imparting a lot of the things which he also learned because he was an orphan and he was adopted by the Mandalorian. So there's a lot of passing down of values and ano here. So I like that. I really liked how tumakbo yung ano yan, yung um the passing on because like he was fatherless, but he was a father to someone who was also fathered. So I particularly like that aspect of the relationship. And despite the fact that they didn't have proper father figures, they were able to learn and pick up good things and apply that in their life. So, so yeah, that's my
Actually, I was thinking
uh,
about ano eh.
uh,
I was thinking about din Jaren nga rin. Rogo, the way he decided to raise him up like his own child.
mhm.
Um, this was a person that ano parang um
It is the way.
at the
This is
beginning
the
we
way.
don't know about his character whether he's good or not. He was a mercenary so hindi natin alam. But as we get introduced Din Djarin is the Mandalorian and the way he is taking care of the kid. Initially, like you mentioned nga, was just a mission for him. Na parang you can really see that he's actually a good father figure. Parang he's learning lessons from the past on how he was raised and he's passing it. Um, sabi nga daw nila, that's why daw Pedro Pascal is the internet's favorite daddy because he tends to play father figures
Yeah,
like he also
true.
plays Joel from ano Last of Us, no,
Yeah.
and he is also portrayed as someone who is a good dad, no,
No, no.
that
That's
he
true.
would rather uh, diba parang even in the idea that to sacrifice the what's her name the girl uh to save humanity or parang keep her alive, decides to keep her alive, diba?
Mm.
So
That one is a debatable thing,
Last
but
yeah,
of
it's
anyway.
Us.
debatable, but I get where he's coming from because he really has come to love the girl na hindi naman niya kadugo.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
but
And
you
the
would, one could even
girl.
say that might be a situation of like, are you a good father, a bad person?
Yes, that's a good father, bad person situation.
which by the way, speaking of good father, bad person, sabi ni Maya dun sa Body Daddies, hoy!
Body, saan?
Kasi
Sino
yung
ba
Body
yun?
Daddies na anime is anime about assassins. And then, they ended up taking care of this kid because they assassinated the mother.
Right, right, right.
uh,
Oh, that's such
also,
a mess. That's just a weird, funny anime. But
sorry,
anyway,
my brain suddenly for some reason went on us like a slight tangent of like we talked earlier about, I'm doing a little backtrack of like different kinds of bad dads. I realized
mm-mm.
we didn't talk about bad dads who might think that they're doing or being good people, but then because like they spoil their children so much, their children become bad people and therefore they're bad parents. And I feel like that's not talked about enough. Like, and I was trying to think of
Well,
an example of it, and I couldn't think of a prominent one off the get go, but I did think of like Sharpay's parents, or oh no, sorry, Regina George's. Well, you don't see her dad, you see her mom. But then,
yeah.
like, I
What?
feel like a lot of those kinds
Ganito.
of characters have parents who are in that field, right? Who are like, I
I
want to
would
give my
say
children everything, and
I
in
would
that
say
abundance, they
uh
end up
Spoiling their
being bad
kids.
parents. Yeah.
abundance.
I don't know.
Not exactly spoiling your kids, but I mean, Ozai is a good example, I think. Because it's not like he denied Zuko stuff, in the sense that he gave him a ship
Mhm.
to go hunt the Avatar. It's terrible parenting, but it's still basically like, here, I am from a position of privilege. We are going to equip you, which he was. He did equip Zuko, diba? He gave him training, his royal family, blah blah blah. It's just that, it's such in the wrong direction. And even Endeavor and oh my gosh, I should remember. Si
Todoroki.
Shota, yeah, Todoroki. Uh he's basically hero family royalty. And he was very well provided. Um Yun lang. Uh
I feel like that exists somewhere. Like that exists in media. My brain just really can't think of
yeah.
Yeah.
like
Well,
who
I
that
know.
person is.
I was thinking of Spy X Family, si Damien, but he's a kid.
Yeah,
There
that's
are it's just
There's
like
so
that.
many. My brain can't think of it. I just know
There
they're
are so
there.
many. There's so many characters of that type. It's a stereotype. Kasi
Yeah.
we don't
'Cause
actually need to pinpoint a specific one. Like we all know this kind of character. We all
yeah,
know
and
this type of person.
that
And
came to mind to
yeah,
me because I thought of the opposite. Like I was like, a good father figure can also be some is also someone who knows when to stop their children and when to step in to correct their like when they do something wrong. And then my brain thought of Goofy from the Goofy movie. Because I feel like Goofy is like a single father, right? And it's like his
true.
relationship with the son is like, ups and downs. It's not always the best. But you
Yeah,
can always see that, like even if he wants to give his son like the best things in the world and like big like always tries to reach out to connect with him, even if that's not always the easiest thing to do. He also knows when to like put his foot down when he feels like um they're straying or going into the
yeah.
wrong direction. I feel like a good father is also someone who does these things. So
But
they're not only
the
like
challenge you gave us
yeah.
is also an interesting one because in Goofy's case, kasi he's not like a millionaire dad or
Mm,
anything. So we might have to take more look into that. You the kind of dad like who actually can give everything, provide everything, but actually has the right heart and values and puts a stop to the wrong stuff.
mm,
So that is something that we don't see in fiction that often. Because wala pa akong naisip na situation of like a kid going in the wrong direction. The dad is the good kind of dad, has the right heads, has his head on straight, and has all the resources, has all the largesse and abundance, and then stops the kid. Usually it's enabler kasi,
Mm-hmm.
mm.
diba? We hardly ever see the dad or the parents not enable
I
a
think that's the
negative
I think
entity
this falls in along the lines of dads nga na parang in ano that are
to
um
apply discipline. There.
they
Dad
ano
to apply discipline.
they provide financially but they don't actually they're emotionally distant or they're ano parang okay I will give everything to my child pero they don't really take an active role in parenting. Uh, so I think that also falls into that category of bad dads na spoil the kid and yet
Yeah.
um
The spoiling the kid factor is um how to say is actually something that I have. It's a stereotype, yeah. So
pero I wanna roll back to Star Wars and I wanted to ask a question nga na if is Bill Organa good dad
yes,
as the
I
adoptive
think
father of
I think he is a good dad because he does model and teach Leia the right things.
I think you
Which is
I think he
I
also
think
did
what
not spoil Leia.
no, no, I don't
She had
think
a
he
she
did.
had a privileged upbringing, but I don't think he spoiled Leia.
No, I don't think he did either. That said, there are more. How do you put it? May mga mm, shows which feature him more, and I can't say that I'm a master of Bail Organa's character, but I have watched enough to say that I don't think he does. Okay
Obi-Wan
lang.
actually. Anyway,
Mm.
so
So yun, we have a plethora of good and bad. But has
do we have
everyone
any
shared
other good
good bad?
dads that we want to bring up before we? I want to do like a rapid fire. Good dad, bad dad.
Uh,
Okay.
just no need to
Yeah.
dive deep. Just say I think this is a good dad.
Or parang
Yeah, no explanation. Good dad, bad dad. Go.
so um some of the questions, some of the things, some of the names that come to mind is wait I'm trying to look for that list.
Mm-mm.
I'm like, before we start this, I'm just gonna, cause I don't think you guys have played. I'm just gonna say I'm going to shout out Gustav Expedition 33 Great dad.
because we haven't gotten into
I know
that.
exactly. That's why you guys can't get an opinion. I'm just gonna say he's a great dad. That's it.
Okay.
Sama mo na si
Adopted father,
Duklito.
Duke
Duklito
Leto
Atreides, since we're
Atreides.
playing Dune.
Actually, yeah, good point. Bad Dad obviously is the Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah.
My gosh, the Baron's bad dad. No question.
Bad dad, bad uncle.
Bad Dad, bad everything.
Oh yeah, he's also the uncle of ano, tama.
He is.
Kaban.
Sino nga? What are names that we can pull up? Ikaw, John, do you have any names that you can think of?
um,
I have one I want to hear you guys on. Vito Corleone.
oh,
Bad.
that's an interesting character.
Wow,
So I
Vito.
was like, good or bad?
Because he's a
I wanna
terrible
hear.
person, but mahirap. He's
Ano ko
such a
ba?
nuanced.
Ano lang,
He's
bad
one
or
of those.
good?
Yeah, that's true. He's one of those very nuanced characters. So he's difficult to
Bad.
pick. I would say, yeah, you know what? Just for simplification purposes, he's bad. He's bad at
Scott Lang.
good,
Good.
Good.
good. I would say he's good.
Let's-
Magneto.
Tony Stark
bad. I would say.
as a dad.
That's a dad.
As a dad, huh? As a dad.
Bad. I think so. I
Uh,
don't think he really took care of his kid.
Tony
Tony
Stark?
Stark?
MCU hindi
Wait, I
comics.
thought you guys said
MCU Tony
Magneto.
Stark.
I got confused. I
Okay.
was like,
Tony
Anyway.
Stark.
Tony Stark.
Not
MCU Tony
ano,
Stark.
not-
As in Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark.
Good dad.
So anyway,
I think
we
good.
may disagree there. I think he was a good dad.
Magneto. Tony Stark.
I thought you said Magneto. I was like,
I heard Magneto
yeah.
then eh. That's why
Ano,
Magneto
Yeah.
bad
Tony
dad.
Stark. Tony Stark. And then afterwards someone inserted Magneto during the
Ako.
Tony Stark.
Ano,
So, ako Tony Stark, I would say a good dad. I think he's a good dad. He was a good dad to as a father figure to Peter and a good dad to his own daughter.
akala ko no explanation.
Kaya nga, no explanation na.
Yeah, we're just
Hindi
saying
naman
good
it's
and
not
bad.
not naman like deep
We're not
dive
diving in.
explanation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just that. Just clarify. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep
Ano
going.
ba?
Uh,
Si what's his Norman Osborn.
Bad.
yeah, bad.
Bad.
That's a
I
bad.
say bad.
Darth Vader.
Okay, I cannot call him a bad dad or a good dad because he basically wasn't there. He
I
never.
say,
He
that's why
didn't.
that's why I say bad. Well, did he know? I forgot.
Bad
Did he
because,
know?
but he didn't know.
Okay, he didn't know. So yeah.
He didn't know until they were already
Until it was
adults.
too late.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay,
like,
but-
yeah, I'll give him a pass. He was probably gonna be a bad dad, but we can't say because he was robbed of the opportunity either way.
not
So-
a dad. Robbed of being a dad. Therefore, he
Robbed of
wasn't
being
given
a
a
dad.
chance of being one.
He didn't have a chance.
He
of
wasn't
being a
even
dad.
had the chance of being a bad dad.
Yeah, he didn't have a
Yeah.
chance to be bad or good. So he's just
Or
a
bad.
dad. Okay,
Anyway.
Gomez Adams, guys.
good.
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 Kahit medyo
Dad.
Ah, Rami.
Kasi they're we're not supposed to dive too deep, but basically Adam's family in general is they teach you good things. They just cover it with strange.
Yes.
So-
Cookie.
Homer Simpson.
Bad.
Bad.
Bad, 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 bad.
I would
He's funny, but he's
say
bad. He's bad.
except to Maggie.
No, even to Maggie, bad.
I was
Yes.
gonna say, is it Maggie raised herself?
Maggie.
Yes.
Maggie,
Yeah.
Yes.
Maggie raised herself.
There's an episode where
Wait lang, fast na lang tayo, diba?
Yeah.
Fast track lang tayo. Fast track lang tayo.
Nag-isip ako
Alright,
sino pa yung
let's
mga
keep going.
dads.
Anime dads. Who are anime characters?
Yung saran mo one half.
Bad.
tatay
Sa
ni
Bad.
Rama.
comments, no comment.
They're all
Either
terrible.
either one,
They're
bad.
both terrible.
Oh, fine, fine.
Whichever one you're talking about, bad.
Yeah, there's no good older character in that show.
Mufasa.
Good. He's a
Good.
good dad.
I
Mufasa?
guess.
I think he's a good dad.
Scar.
He's not a dad at all.
He's a dad. He's a
Exactly.
dad. He's a
No,
dad.
he's not dad.
He's a dad.
Really? Oh shoot! Right.
Nagkaroon
Ah,
na sequel yung ano.
right,
Yeah,
right,
Lion
right,
yeah,
King.
no,
right.
I know. But then the thing is, was he at all present in that person's life? Did he even know he had a son? I don't know. My brain is like, I don't recall.
Hindi, pero yun. Bad dad
Yeah,
sa akin.
I have
Yeah.
no comment on that
Okay,
because I couldn't.
If he knew
eto,
that he had a son, bad dad.
I'm
Otherwise,
sure
it's a Darth Vader situation.
depending on the version that you've watched, Jonathan Kent, the tatay ni Clark.
Good dad. Generally speaking, he's a good dad.
I was gonna
Generally
say, I
good.
remember him. as a
Pero
good
one
dad.
bad.
What?
Except in
Kevin Costner?
Snyderverse.
Ah,
Huh?
Except in the Snyderverse.
It was a bad.
Snyderverse.
He wasn't
Yeah.
he wasn't a terrible dad. But he was
It
like
wasn't a terrible dad.
It was
But
like-
he's a bad dad.
it was like yung don't save the kids if it will expose you. Yung mga ganun siya.
It's like I'll die for
Anyway,
you. I'll
let's
die
go,
for
let's
you
go.
instead. It's like okay, that doesn't make you a terrible dad, but it is.
Yung
That doesn't make-
even in the bus scene
Guys,
where
guys.
he
Yeah.
2030.
Short. Okay, let's keep moving.
Tatay ni Merida. What was his name?
He was actually a good dad. I don't think he was a bad dad. He had his shortcomings, but he wasn't a bad dad.
wait, meron ako naalala. Wait.
Dad ni
Stoic.
Moana.
Si Stoic the Vast.
Stoic. Stoic.
Oh,
Start
Good.
bad and good.
he grew, so I'll give him his good.
Yeah,
Shrek.
start
Give him
bad
his
and
good
good.
Shrek.
I think he's a good dad. I mean, for all his faults, there for his children. Let's love his children.
Oh,
Tatay ni si John.
I got no comment. Because I
I
don't.
got
know
no comment din kay Shrek eh.
Yeah, I got nothing. to say.
Anyway,
Sino
Other
who else is fun?
cartoons.
si Megumi, yung tatay ni Megumi. Pero hindi
Megumi.
sige yung
I haven't watched
sa
Which Megumi?
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Jujutsu
No, anyway.
Kaisen.
Bad.
I got no comment.
Elrond.
Elrond was a good dad.
Good dad.
Was a good dad. Like it doesn't come out very well in the movie, but he was a good dad.
Martin
Yeah,
Finding
good
Nemo.
Good
I
dad.
was, I was like, it's not even a question. I'm just gonna say it anyway. Yung, yung tatay ni Boromir.
Si Denethor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Denethor.
Denethor was a bad dad.
I forgot his name,
Just
man. I was just like, I just know him
Denethor,
as
yeah. He's
tatay ni
bad.
Boromir.
Oh, Ned
Bad.
Stark.
Good, I would
Ned
say good dad.
Stark was a good dad.
Good
I
dad.
don't think he could have been better, but he was a good dad.
Yeah, he's a good dad.
Could have
Jaime
handled other
Lannister.
things better.
How about
Jaime Lannister.
Robert?
Bad dad, my
No,
gosh.
no,
Sino
no.
si-
Tywin.
Tywin.
Tywin
Hindi,
Lannister.
Jamie
yeah.
rin. Sama
Ah,
mo
si Jamie.
Jamie, I feel like it's. Oh, technically.
I think
Si Robert
Yes.
Baratheon.
Gosh,
Bad.
dad.
Bad. No,
Bad.
I feel like Tywin and Jamie are technically more nuanced and harder to classify. So I want to know where you'd lie.
I think
Jamie
Jamie is harder
are-
to more nuance, but I think Tywin, for me,
Tywin bad.
hands down bad siya.
Tywin bad. Tywin bad. Bad.
I will go with bad. Yes. Okay. What
I
else
would
is
also
there?
say bad for Jamie, honestly,
Yeah.
personally.
Okay. What else? Final set.
Ako sino?
Book dads. Sino ba mga books? na
Hello?
binasa?
Head na nga.
Oh,
Yes.
actually, I was gonna say. Well, we're not supposed to explain, but I was gonna say. I think Ned Stark. There's an argument for Ned Stark in the category of people who technically have like resources and whatever, but were still able to like limit their children to some extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I feel like he had that disciplinarian character to him. Sorry.
Yeah, he's a good example of that.
Yeah.
That's a rare but good example, yes. Okay. What else do we have before we wrap up?
Brian Mills.
No?
Taken. I haven't watched Taken.
Ah, wait. Uh,
Mm, I, I got
Ano?
Sorry.
one.
Liam Neeson.
You. Yeah.
Liam Neeson's character,
I,
good dad ish. Yes, no, he's good. He was a good dad. He gave them a chance to not escalate it. So it's like, I'm teaching you. If bad people want to die, that's their problem.
John
I like.
McClane.
Mrs. Doubtfire.
John McClane.
I haven't watched.
I can't comment.
I don't think there's enough information about that for John.
Yep.
I was
We've
also
Well,
gonna
watched
say.
Die Hard, but anyway.
he was lovely.
I haven't watched any Die Hard. Oh wait, no. No, that's Fast and Furious. I was gonna say since we went to Liam Neeson, my brain said Zeus, and I was like, natawa lang ako.
I would like to see how he is in Naked Gun, but we don't have enough information yet. So
Ano, what's his name? Sino yung actor ni original?
See, don't call me Shirley. Well,
Oh, that character, the father of Liam Neeson in Naked Gun, is he a good dad or bad dad?
we'll find out. We'll find out.
ano ba?
Wait.
yung tatay ni Aladdin.
Wait,
Tatay ni Aladdin?
Yeah,
There's a movie on it.
Ah, yeah,
He
yeah,
starts-
tatay ni
He
Aladdin.
starts out
Yeah.
bad. He starts out bad. So
Well, how
What
about
about the Sultan? What?
the Sultan guy? I was gonna say the Sultan.
the Sultan might be another example for your, but he never really restricted Jasmine, or
I
did
think
he? I'm not
misguided siya. Yun.
Yeah.
That's his daughter, no question. Pero whether he raised up Jasmine, right?
Oh, on the note of Disney dads, Belle's dad.
good dad.
Yeah.
I would
Sometimes
say...
Without question, he wanted to sacrifice himself, so good dad.
I don't know. When he was doing his work, he tends to...
And that's because he's like but then again,
You
Belle
know-
also, I don't know. That's a deeper thing. Nuance.
Yeah, kasi yung work niya kasi he needs to keep Belle there. Pero overall, the big gestures, he's a good dad. Kasi he sacrificed himself. Pero anyway, well,
Okay, last statements before we close. Final thoughts.
you're gonna be a bad dad, don't get children. That's it. Yun ang statement ko.
I think being a dad kasi starts with
Final
the,
statement
for
for
me, dad is really starts with your character. If you have a bad character to start to become and being a dad, sometimes naman sa control mo yan sometimes. As we have seen and we talked about, we have had characters who became instant dads because they adopted child under their care. What came out is yung strength of character of these guys. A bad dad, they might be a nice, and this is where I have to say that being nice does not equate to being good.
Yes.
Kasi there are examples I just remember. Pick lang na naalala ko is the movie 28 Weeks Later. Character ng dad doon.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. He loves his family, but when push came,
The chips are down.
when the chips are down, he sacrificed his own wife so that he can escape. Parang yung ano doon.
Right.
So parang for me, it really talks about character. When sabi nga ni John, when pressure is applied, the character of a person really comes out. Then that's where you will see if a person really is a good dad or a bad dad, no? The way that they deal with.
Yeah.
And like there are many stories where, for example, they've always been a good dad until they lost their jobs and then they started beating me up or something like that. Because when pressure comes, dapat your character should be dead regardless of what happens in life. So I think for me, being a good dad comes down to the kind of character that are you a man of moral integrity? Are you the kind of man pass on these values to your children? And are you also the kind of man that would model it to other people, regardless of whether they're your children? I think for me, And that is the foundation of a lot of the good dads that we talked about.
Exactly. I agree with JB. I go back to that line from Deuteronomy that you have like to be a good for me to be a good father, one must impress God's command onto your children. And so that becomes true if you're able to not only, embody those things, because just sometimes just telling them to do certain things, like say for example, like I was saying earlier, that there are people who might be bad people, but then they like try to uh teach or tell their kids to be good, but then the
Yeah.
impression that makes is not exactly the same as if you just live it. Because when they see you uh live as a good person, it's easier for them to emulate that
Yeah.
is the kind of person that I should be, right? And
Correct.
like John was mentioning also earlier, that like respect, sometimes if your children respect you a certain way, you can then see that there is something to you that is to be respected because you live up to be a respectable
Mm-mm.
person. But there's also truth to why people, like a lot of people, tend to judge like a person's upbringing or parents by their children, because it is very like okay, not very rare, but generally if you're like how do you, it is part of the pinnacle of being a good parent, if you're able to raise children who are good. Not saying that it is a requirement. There are bad parents who do have good children. Maybe they found the mentorship
Yeah.
elsewhere in their lives. But generally, if you are not able to be present enough to guide your children, or you were not a good example to them, or you were not able to be a leader to them, and you are failing in these things, it would then be how do you call this? You would not, as a parent, be able to raise children who are then good people. That's why they must have found that elsewhere, no, if not from you. So those are like generally the markers of, to me, especially from our discussion today, you can see that those things, like you're a bad parent if you weren't even around as a parent. You're a
Mm.
bad parent if you're not able to lead by example or be a good person towards your children, or your family. If you do not prioritize them, right, in the way that you are able to provide and then guide them, be a good leader to them. So those are generally what we've seen to be the markers of a good father. And and the opposite, or the lack thereof, tends to lead towards our examples of what a bad father.
Mm-mm. All right. Well, so I guess yun nga, being a dad is obviously we skip straight through the having a kids part because um
It's more fun.
Oh
Oh
no.
no, naputol siya. Pero while he's gone,
Yeah. Vince, how about you? What is your like final take?
or
So that
you got
Sloppy.
disconnected, Zon.
yeah,
yeah.
sorry. So yun. Again, I was just saying it's whether it's your actual biological kids or it's spiritual children you've adopted or something. Um being a dad is being the kind of person who guides, models, protects, provides, and not just provide like materially, but also you provide spiritually, emotionally, morally, relationally towards your kids, how they interact within themselves and with the world. So you provide yung identity, you help to provide who they are, to establish who they are and who they can and should be. Um, and these are just these are aspects of what make a dad. And implicitly, we are also saying that you direct your kids towards what is good, um, good in life, not just for us, but in a general sense. So as we've seen, a lot of the dads who are bad are very self-focused.
Mm, exactly.
It's not caring, it's not loving, it's not other. How do I make things um more better for not myself but for people in general, for my community, for the where I am, where we are, diba? But instead, they're just focused on how will this thing benefit me to build up my own ego or my own whatever.
Yeah,
So
you egoist.
it's
Egoist.
demonstrating that kind of thing. All right.
How about you, Vince? What's your final take? Is that what it is?
Whatever you guys said, it's my final take. Dami niya na sinabi. I
I
mean,
think yeah.
there's nothing to add to that. Kasi parang I'm just, repeating what you guys said. At the end of the day, a good father is someone who, is selfless, basically.
Mm.
And that's it. If you're not selfless, you're not, don't bear children. You're only adding more
Wait naman.
people to, you're going to add more people na papakainin para mo sakit sa ulo. Diba?
I want to raise up one last thing. Chapter 6, 4 to 9. Verse 4 says, Lord our God, shall love the Lord your God with all your heart. That's the first command, is love God. But then it follows on commands that I command shall be on your them diligent line doon na. Number
Yeah.
one, it starts with your character and teaching
Mm.
it to your, and sabi niya dito, shall teach them diligently to your children. I'll talk of them when you sleep. By the way, lie down and when you rise. So it means yung life on life talaga participation.
Mm.
Hindi parang sa paggising mo sa umaga hanggang sa pagtulog mo, whether nakaupo ka, nakahiga ka, nakatayo, whatever, basta kasama mo yung children, parang you teach them. You are a parent. There is
Yeah.
walang bakasyon sa parenting. So,
Mm.
shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your everything that the Lord is commanding you, you teach them, and it's part of your lifestyle siya. I think
Mhm.
that's really what it also means to this that they are part of your life. And sa
Mm.
parang an extension of something. And the Bible teaches you have to teach. For diligently
Mm.
means consistent,
Yeah.
to be available, etc. I think that is really the quality with dads that we.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was any other parang manual, the Bible says it talaga.
Mm.
Yeah. If anything, for our discussion today, it really brought me to the point of like, uh, like I began to question what is a dad. Like in a lot of ways, I was saying like, Hotskar is a dad. It's like, can you even consider them a dad if they weren't really a father? Like I felt like I questioned my own definition at the start, where it was like, in many of these cases, I don't know if I would consider these people fathers. Like it almost
Mm.
felt like, can we separate the term dad from father, because a biological parent may exist, but then like if you never even like attempted to step into the shoes of being like a dad, like
Mm.
because from our definitions, it felt almost to me like dad is an active choice, like father is a state of being, and that like you exist in that, but if you aren't putting in the active
Effort.
role to be that, yeah, active effort to fill that
Mm.
role, then I don't know if you should even be considered a dad.
Yeah.
I guess that's it from us. I think of one thing that important, that good dads, they have an example of what it means dad as well. That nila in their lives, and that's passing it. That's why it's important to have like level. A segue.
Wow.
So if you are the kind of person looking for a community, like-minded
Mm.
individuals, are also into different hobbies like anime,
Mm.
cosplay, whatever, join us. have a and of course we have a Discord chat. Discord. Hopefully John can post the link.
Mm.
So invite, you can join us. We constantly hang out at the tavern, our tavern voice chat. We watch videos. We play their lives with
Mm.
someone to talk to. Also, a safe space. That's it from us. In Level Up, and next time. We're talking about it. We'll have to schedule it. We're looking at to do a hot take on K-pop Demon. Watch out for
Yes,
it, guys.
yes, come join us.
All right, and
Indeed. Amen.
see you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes.
To restart my